Hi, and welcome to this episode of the DC Life podcast. I'm Nathan.
I'm Georgie, and today we're going to chat with someone about something in the life of our church.
Well, today we are joined with Pastor Anthony Sliger, a.k.a. Sly.
No, using Anthony always makes me feel slightly awkward. Did you do that last time? I'm scared. I'm going to have to go back and listen now. It's good to be here again. Hey,
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah, good to have you.
Get to have a laugh and a chuckle and then turn the mics on. So
And thanks for coming back.
yeah, it's good. I know it feels weird to leave your house at the moment, doesn't it?
It does. Yes. Well, last time you were on our show, there was no talk of any C virus getting around the place. And now we're all inside our homes, and we're not meeting people as we used to meet, and things are very different.
It is.
But the mission of God continues.
Yeah.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It continues and has to continue strongly. And the world we live in is so changing so quickly. Even just the directives that we're under by the government. How do we keep up with that? How do we know what's going on? It's we're trying to stay as updated as we can, but it changes so differently from day to day that it's a challenge for some people. And there's a lot of people out there that are very scared or nervous,
anxious.
And also, I was just talking to a friend that doesn't know the Lord. One of my old workmates yesterday. I just had the feeling I should touch base with him, and he was just like, the world's never going to be the same. And that's his feeling that and there may be some truth in that. The way that the world operates from this point forward may be different. But when you actually look at history, it's not the first time the world has faced something like this. Very different time they were living in. But just at the start of the last century, the Spanish flu pandemic went around the world. And then you go back a little bit further and there's the bubonic plague. And then, you keep tracking. There's, been this kind of things time and time over. And those generations lived in a time where they didn't have some of the digital and technical tools that we have now that are a blessing. Even like this, being able to podcast and talk to you guys from a safe distance.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So, it's a different time. It's a challenging time.
Yeah.
But I guess one thing is we're all in it together.
Yeah.
That's
and
right.
So, literally, we're all in it together. So whether or not you live in Broome or in Springfield Lakes or wherever, we're all going through this thing together. So we should take some comfort in the fact that we are the people of God on mission.
Yeah.
The game plan might have changed a little bit, but the purpose and the mission is the same.
Yeah. I think that's right, and we really have to keep that in mind. Even though there's really different challenges for us to overcome and to work out little details. We've got to keep moving forward as the people of God on God's mission to the people that don't know Jesus, and seeking to do that. When we talk about our missional community groups, we always talk about outreach, care, and discipleship, and those three things can still and should still be continuing in this time and season, but they're going to look slightly different.
Yeah.
So,
And we're really glad that you've come to join us today to talk to us about that. And we're even wary that, from right now to when you might be listening to this at home, things might have changed again in that small space of time. So we are wary of that. But no matter what things are going to look like in now or in the near future, we want to obviously talk to you about, as MCGs, how that can still happen.
Yeah, that's it's a really good question. At risk of dating us, just today we've been, the restrictions have got even tighter. So it may be some time before people listen to this. I don't know exactly when that's going to happen, but it's kind of like almost don't leave your house except for these few reasons. The things that are coming out kind of now, and that puts a lot of challenges on us. But I think, there are a lot of things, like we just said, that we can do the same. I know all our missional community groups have started connecting together on a Sunday at some stage via Zoom or something like
Zoom.
that. That's right. And that gives us a good opportunity where we can still see one another, still touch base, have a little bit of social interaction, even though we're not physically present with one another. There's social distancing, but still relational engagement. And I think that's really important and key for us to keep that up and maintain that really, really well.
And to remember that no matter where we are still united in Christ. And that unifies all of us around the globe, let alone in one suburb, in our own homes.
Yeah, one suburb, one church, one community group.
That's right.
Still,
so it gives us good reason and good cause to actually go ahead with that and to do it well. Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, so you talked about the social distancing restrictions on us, but because we're social creatures, we've been made by God in His image, who is a community. So we're made for community, for relationship.
Yeah.
So some of us are struggling more than others. I mean, I'm kind of introverted by nature.
Yeah, me too. I'm right there with you.
Some people. But for those
bubble baths and sleep-ins, no.
But for those that are that just love, it's the desire, the connection, the huggers, it's like this is a challenge for them.
Yeah.
And so we want to still be relationally connected, observing the social distancing rules. And so as a church, what have we been doing to try and help stay connected? I know you mentioned some of those technology things, but I guess our MCGs are well equipped to continue. They don't need to be deployed because we already are deployed.
Yeah.
But it's just like some of our rhythms have to adjust.
Totally. Yeah. I think I kind of laughed about it in the first face-to-face call we did with everyone, everyone in our group in all together, because Stephanie, she probably won't mind me calling her out, but she is like extremely extroverted, like end of the scale.
Capital
like,
E.
Doesn't like leaving a room if there's not somebody else going with her kind of deal. And I just said, we were like a few days in of mild restrictions at that point, and I said, how are you doing? She's like, yeah, not good. I need to, see people. I said, FaceTime anyone. Like, we can do that. We live in a world where you can call someone and see their face. And so that's important. And guys, honestly, fellas, we are going to struggle with this more than our counterparts or than ladies do in general, because we don't often just text each other through the day or through the week, or just make phone calls as often as girls do. And again, that's a general, very big generalization.
But we do, I connect with that. Definitely. I'm not a great texter. My wife will agree. But we like hanging out, the bros, just hanging out and connecting that way. And
so we have to look at ways for, of just doing that and making that happen. And caring for one another might just mean checking in.
Yeah.
When you know that something big is going on in someone's life, to just give them a call, or shoot them a
Old
text.
School.
Hey, how's that going? And particularly with stuff like rapidly changing, like people losing work or being unsure how many hours that they're going to get, leaving it a week apart in check-ins at this kind of stage can be too much. So much can change in that time. And so if you know people in your missional community group family, and this is, I think, a key thing that a lot of people, once they grasp this concept, it makes a big difference. If you see your MCG as your family, your church family, a small group that you can connect with in a familiar way, it's really going to help. And if you think, this is my family, I've got to love and care for these guys like I would my physical family, this is my spiritual family, first port of call for that anyway, then that will really make a difference on how you relate. And so if you think, I've got to care for this person like I would my brother or sister if they were going, in a physical sense, because they are your spiritual brother or sister. And so we want to know what is going on in one another's lives. So I think just upping the level of engagement in simple things like phone calls or text messages.
And getting creative too. Like,
Yeah.
we were home one day this week and got a FaceTime from one of the people in our MCG and just wandered around the house and got some jobs done and had the kids around, and they said hello and, this is what I've been working on, this is what I've been doing. Isn't that nice? Let's have a cup of tea, like over FaceTime.
Yeah.
And that normalcy can still be brought back into a relationship, even though it's on FaceTime.
Yeah.
But it so helped, and that connection is so valuable, and we don't want to be coming out of this in however many months' time or weeks and lose those connections because we haven't been continuing.
Yeah. Bless you. And at this stage, we are still allowed to have a small number of people. I think the new guidelines I saw today is you can have 1 or 2 people to your house as a visit, as a social interaction, because the government knows and is aware that if people are totally isolated, then that's going to have serious effects on our mental health and well-being. And so we don't want to do that. So be wise about that. And again, we've got to know where people are at. There are some people that are just going to want to be as withdrawn as possible in a physical sense.
Yeah.
And won't want that kind of interaction. But there are others who would love someone to just drop in and have a cup of tea.
Yeah.
And you can still do little things to bless you. We had someone, I don't know if it was early this week or late last week, just send a text message and said, hey, check your doorstep. And they dropped off some artwork that their kids had done to show our kids, and a lollipop for each of our kids to the door. So, not a big effort, not a huge cost. But, man, that lifted the spirits in our household for the rest of that day.
Yeah.
That we just got that, hey, here we are, And so there are simple little things that you can do like that just to love your MCG family, love your neighbours, that are at a greater distance from you in a physical sense at the moment.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I even feel like for our MCG, we've sort of approached prayer a bit differently.
Yeah.
Being something that does really bond us together, and putting out prayer lists and prayer requests, and just being a little bit more, I guess, not formalised, but
More intentional.
About praying for each other and really asking for prayer. And even something which I know our group would not be the only one. We have essential workers. We have healthcare workers in our group who are going to work at the moment. And, just having that line of defence of prayer behind them and caring for them too in that, because obviously there's a lot of anxiety and stress around people who are still I guess leaving their homes and on the front line. They need our prayers as well, and that's a great way we can care for them as an MCG. Yeah,
that's huge, and I think prayer has been just one big thing that God's been stirring in my heart in this season, for that corporate level, praying for others, but also just praying for yourself. At the Acts 29 conference a couple of weeks ago, Leonce Crump shared something from the stage. He'd taken up this habit that he was setting his alarm in 3-hour intervals over the course of the day. So at 6 a.m., 9 a.m., 12 p.m., 3 p.m., 6 p.m., and again at 9 p.m. over the day, just as a reminder to pray. And he said there are some moments where that goes off where I've got 30 seconds, but I'm just reminded to commune with God. And there are other times where I can spend 10 or 15 minutes. But if you've got 5 or 6 times a day, just that little buzz in your pocket, and we do that all the time, then that's going to up your prayer life. If you praying for people in your MCG like that when it comes up, even just praying for your own personal communion with God, because we have this opportunity where a lot of us are going to have a lot more free time than we have, even if it's just the time taken out of your day that it normally takes you to get to and from work. There's some extra leeway, and so a little catchphrase that I'm borrowing, but don't waste your quarantine. Don't make the most of that. Seek to look for ways to push into into Jesus at this time and help others or have others help you from your missional community group to continue to push you along in that, to be an encouragement, to say, hey, how are you getting into God's word, this week? What is he teaching you? How can I be praying for you? And doing that in your Sunday chats as well as, other times through in and throughout the week.
And with social media, I mean, social media can be a huge double-edged sword, very dangerous in some ways. You can go down the rabbit hole and get completely distracted and I guess consumed by some things. But if you're using it wisely, it can be such an encouragement, like seeing other people of faith in what they're reading at the moment, or an encouragement or a prayer or just something from their day that can help inspire you, and using that to connect relationally, even if it's something you wouldn't normally like to do. This is how we have to connect now. Like, this is kind of all we've got left.
That's right.
Which is sad, but it's still there. Like, we're so grateful to be living in an age where we can connect. We can still do it, just in a different way.
Yeah. And so, like, I'd encourage, everyone who's in a group to be looking for those kind of opportunities. If there's a prayer request that comes up or something that you want people to be praying about, you don't kind of have the opportunity just to save it up till the next time you're going to see someone face to face. So shoot out a text message, put it up on, I think most of our groups have a Facebook wall with things, or sometimes there are guys and girls threads in a message that are separate from that. Like, get onto it. Just be asking people and keeping them updated. And that's one of the big ways I think we can care for one another, is just to seek to stay engaged relationally, having like some open communication that's regularly flowing throughout the week, and be praying for one another, and encouraging one another to push into Christ, because he's going to be our sense of peace and security in a time when so much is uncertain in the world around us.
He's our cornerstone, our rock, our foundation. So when there's not a lot of other things that we can cling to, we can definitely cling to Christ. Yeah. Now, if we look at O of the OCD, so outreach, one of the things that George and I have just kicked off in our little local neighbourhood is just a Facebook group. So we did that on the weekend. We've got 30-something members now.
Wow.
And there's only a possible number of, was it 60 or 70 total?
Yeah, I think so, yep.
It's only a couple of streets, but we just did a walk of a letterbox drop with a thing, and we've had a lot of people come on board. And there's this thing called Chalk Your Walk, which is doing the rounds. And one of the other neighbours actually just offered all of this chalk to give away.
Wow.
And
awesome.
so, the kids have been out in the afternoons writing messages of hope and positivity, and so we've been blown away by that. It's just some simple stuff, but we've already seen neighbours connect. They kind of live next to each other, and they don't kind of know each other. And so it's just a platform for them to connect. And just for us to, in some way, share this positive community spirit. But we hope from that it can build. And post-COVID, we actually have a community that's kind of flourishing. That's our
celebrate with a giant street party.
That's right. It's like, wow, you're that
great.
guy.
And that's such a good idea and such a good initiative. We need to have creative ways to think of outreach in this time, because most of us can't do it the way that we did. I know one of the things our group was trying to do, we wanted to have a guys' night once a month, and we kind of didn't have that rhythm and got it all set up and planned out for the year, and then we had to blow it up because we couldn't do it even before the first one happened. But man, engaging with your neighbours is something so critical and so valuable. God has placed you where he has placed you with a plan and a purpose. Now that may not be for you to lead every one of your neighbours to the Lord, but you can love them and show them what a life of following Christ is like. And in this time where so many people are going to feel so isolated so easily, it's critically important. One of the girls from our missional community group shared with her, she's got an elderly neighbour that lives next door to her who is petrified of going to the shops. She's just really scared that if she gets infected with COVID, it's going to be really, really serious for her. And that she's got concerns. And so she just went, I just want to love her. What can I do? Can I get your groceries for you? Can I, serve you? Can I, and she ended up going and getting a puzzle and dropping it on a doorstep just so she had, something to do, and they'll wave across the fence whenever they can and have the opportunities. Little things like that can make a massive difference in people's lives. And so Beck and I have been thinking and planning about the letter thing for a week now, and we live in a very small little street. I think we worked out that there are 11 houses apart from ours in the block that is our street name. And so we're like, could we just go out that far? And we have a lot of neighbours who look the other way when you're out the front of your house that don't want to, talk to you. I got a wave out of someone that we've never had wave this afternoon, hanging out with my kids out the front. I was like, yes, that's a breakthrough.
But I've noticed the same thing because we back onto an oval.
Yeah.
So normally we see people walking around, and we're often on the oval as well. And on a normal day, occasionally someone will say hi or give you a little nod, but there's not much relationship there. Now, even with the social distancing, obviously people are just desperate to get out of their houses by about 4:00 in the afternoon.
Yep.
You can tell those houses with kids.
We're walking around separate to these people, distanced, but people are looking for eye contact and they're wanting to wave from it. Say, hey, how you going? And people need, and they're missing that community.
Right.
So they're so open to it at the moment. The field is really ripe. We can be sowing seeds here really effectively.
Yeah, and we have a hope beyond death that a lot of people don't have. I think one of the big potential blessings for the gospel going forward in this season is that people are faced with their mortality in a huge way, or mortality of their loved ones. And so often in the world that we live in, we don't like to think of that.
No.
We ignore it and we set it aside, and we think that we're immortal, or that our lives are going to be long and healthy all the time. And this thing's just rocked that boat for so many people in a massive, significant way. And so to be able to be filled with hope, even if we get sick, even if I get sick, I still want to proclaim hope. And if you look at history, Christians have been the ones that have put their lives at risk to serve people who were dead and dying. First hospitals were started by Christians because they wanted to care for the sick when nobody else would. And I know a lot of people that have. I was talking to somebody just recently who. No, actually, maybe it was one of the podcasts I was listening to. Someone that just said that, they have such a resilience in their field of work because they're a believer and they have hope, and people notice that. There's a much, lesser burnout rate for Christians working in intense industries like social work or healthcare and those kind of things, where people often are churned over very quickly because we have that security in Christ. And we need that. We need to maintain that, and we need to be able to share that, not necessarily in a pushy, in-your-face way, but just being able to, when, other people are shaken by what's going on, to be able to be secure in Christ. And we need to push into God to have that security,
to have it,
and we need to be able to show that to others so that we can just be a tangible display of the eternal security we have in Christ, and that gives us security in this life too.
It's good.
It's good. It's good, man.
Yeah.
Preach it, bro.
I feel in a sermon stirring here. That's good. That's good. So we kind of touched on outreach a bit, and I know there are a bunch of other little ideas that we could think of, but there's also care. We kind of hit a bit, but just so quickly, so I don't forget before we run out of time, I think most of the discipleship in our missional community groups will be able to continue in the same kind of rhythms that it has been, but just being connected in some virtual fields. I've done just some audio phone calls with guys, and sometimes I've done that as I'm riding my bike home from the building. Other people, or we've done Zoom calls or FaceTimes, or whatever works for you to be able to stay in touch. But that kind of stuff can continue as normal. And when it comes to thinking about social gatherings and interactions that we need, we can think about how to do that creatively. I just had the idea this afternoon about whether we could. We used an online trivia program for club a few months back, but could I actually set that up in a way that we could do it with our MCG over a Zoom call and have a trivia party? So you're still getting a social hangout, but you're just doing it in the safety of your own home.
Yeah,
Thinking about like that. Maybe you do a Mexican themed dinner party and get everyone to wear costumes and you just get to see each other on the call while you eat your dinner. You sit the laptop at one end of the table and have dinner together. Like there are ways that we can still interact with people and do and think outside the box. I saw this great quote this afternoon. It's by Karen, so I didn't know if I could take it seriously, but I don't think it's Facebook Karen. I think it's she's an infectious disease expert with a bunch of letters after her names. Right. But she said, right now we don't need churches to create a bunch of new programs. What we need is for the people who attend those churches to simply be good neighbours and to do it in a careful and thoughtful manner. Our mission field may be restricted to those places that we can walk exercising around, and be able to say hi as we're out the front of our streets and see what might come of that. And even just asking, some of those simple questions. Hey, have you been impacted by this significantly? How are you and your family doing in light of this? Are there any silver linings you've noticed as you've been, adjusting to the crisis in the world around us? Is there anything that you need or that I can help with? Just a few really simple questions there. And that could be as simple as, hey, do you need a roll of toilet paper? I know that's kind of settled down a little bit now, but that was a pressing question a few weeks ago. I had people saying like, we got 2 or 3 rolls left in our household full of girls. Anyone help us out? Glad that wasn't me, but, it's happening.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the practical stuff, there's a real opportunity there just to, love your neighbour, just to be a witness in the community, just to serve people, just to find, where is the need, find the need and serve the need, meet the need. Yeah. And I'm sure that, God is going to want to do great things through us. Yeah. If we just need to be looking for those opportunities. It's almost like the 4 walls of the church are broken down. Yeah. And because we're on the mission of God, it's like we're the scattered and we're sort of staying scattered. Yeah. We're gathering virtually, but there's a real focus now on, well, what does the scattered church look like? Yeah. And how does that connect with people?
Yeah. And part of our vision in having missional community groups is we always wanted to do this well. This has been our desire and our vision from the start, that we would be out in our communities. We'll be getting to meet our neighbours and friends and co-workers and being, in their lives enough that we have real and deep, meaningful relationships. But something about this has forced us to do that in closer proximity. For a lot of people, just meeting their neighbours is a daunting thing. I'm sure that's why we get some of the cold stares that we do from people in our streets, because, meeting new people can be hard work.
Well, there's a fear in it. Yeah. But, as the Bible tells us, love drives out fear. And so if we take that first step, with a loving heart to reach someone, and then, it's like, this isn't as scary as I thought. And then it just takes one opportunity. And sometimes you're still going to get that cold shoulder because some people might take a while to engage. Yeah. But the more we can break down those barriers, help people feel connected, just showing that first bit of love. Yeah. And to try and deal with that fear. Yeah. I think we can see some great things.
Yeah, totally. Just to give a resource plug, if we've talked a lot about, thinking about your neighbours. The Art of Neighbouring, which was a book that you loved. And I think you wrote a blog kind of helping a couple of years back that you can find on the DC website still if you want to check out the blogs. But just in this last week, they've released a resource with a bunch of video stuff online on Right Now Media. And if you're a member at DC, you should have access to that, so you'll be able to see it. And there are resources there that can help you out and think about. But one of the striking things he just said to me, that I heard as I was listening to some of these talks in the last couple of days, was just the power of remembering your neighbours' names can be so valuable that next time you see them, you're not just like, hey, mate that lives at number 7, how you doing? That you can actually say, hey, Bill, hey, Fred, whatever, you know, their name is can be so key and mean a lot. That's a real simple way that you can show that you love and care enough that you've gone to the effort to remember someone's name, and that may break down some barriers to lead to some conversation. Yeah. Who knows?
Totally.
That's some really great practical advice for us. So thank you, Sly, particularly for reaching out to our neighbours. And just a reminder as well to be looking out for the people in our MCG, caring for them well, for the children too. We have so many kids at DC, and check in with them too. Check in with parents who are trying to work and potentially homeschool and just survive. Yeah. It's a really tough time. So be praying for your community, for your missional community, and your family as well. So probably a good place to start if you're not sure. But there's lots that we can be doing as the body of Christ, which is cool. And if it's all right, just to finish, I'm just going to share with everyone a little scripture that we shared with our MCG from Isaiah 40. It says, "Those who trust in the Lord will find new strength. They will soar high on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not grow faint." So we have, as you said, a hope in this time, and we have a mission. So be praying together as a church, and keep in touch for more ideas and encouragement as well.
Yep. Stay socially distant but relationally engaged.
That's it. Thanks, Si.
Pleasure.
If you'd like more information about what's going on at Disciples Church, check out our website.
Or email us at podcast@disciples.org.au if you have any questions or feedback. Thanks for listening in, and we'll see you next week.